Wait 1 second. Let me count to 3. 1, 2. We're on.
Right, now you're viewed, you can be viewed by everybody, and we'll start the meeting. I'm sorry that Haley's not here. She may join us later. I don't believe we have any police report. Paul Oakway has rung me and said that he was going to join in, but he hasn't appeared. Is that correct?
That is correct from what I see, yes.
Have you sent him an extra email just to see if he can join?
Yes, I'll send it again, but I have sent it once. I'll send it again.
Right, that might be him.
No, that's not him.
Okay. Now, I believe Monique is watching us, but our secretary has, our clerk has not had any comments from members of the public. So if Monique is watching, she'll just have to understand that technology is not helping us this afternoon at all. And so I'm now going to go on to the apologies for absence. We have no apologies, is that correct?
That's correct. I have no apologies.
Right. Declarations of interest and applications for dispensation. Have we got any declarations of interest? I'm just a person who lives in Honey Street and I will make a comment about the Crop Circle exhibition. Does anybody else want to make a declaration of interest? Can I move on?
Well, anybody that lives actually within the Honey Street area and actually has any sort of comment or things that will come in C 5C, they do need to actually disclose in this point.
So do you want to disclose you live in Honey Street, anybody? No. Right. Chairman's announcements. I haven't really got any announcements except that I do find this way of conducting business absolutely terrible. And
so do I.
Thank you. I think you probably all agree with me, and I'm so sorry we've had such technical difficulties. I do believe we're not the only people that had technical difficulties, but it really is difficult to have a major discussion over like this with all these things. So please bear with us and be patient. We've got a lot of paperwork to do here, so let's hope that we can get through it. Now, planning applications, am I to go on to that?
Yes, please.
If none have been received.
Nope.
There has been a decision by the council for planning application Honey Street Mill, change of use from an exhibition hall to the Crop Circle exhibition. And that was decided at committee by the council. I personally was very disappointed because they only gave 4 parking spaces for the whole Crop Circle exhibition. And I think that is, personally speaking, ridiculous. Does anyone want to say anything about that? Can I move on? To receive information from the clerk's report. Right, Elizabeth. Elizabeth, you're on mute at the moment.
Yeah, I've unmuted, but I just would like to say real quick before we get too far, could we just step one step back, because we've done what we did last time, which is skip number 3. And so what I do need is for the council to approve the last 3 sets of minutes.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
That's okay. Could we just go back and make sure that we're all happy? And
I don't know if you all have the same, but I haven't got numbers against mine, and it's slightly confusing. So to confirm as a true record, the minutes of the Parish Council meeting held on the 6th of April, 2002, and the 24th of April, and the 18th of June. Shall we do them all individually, please, to make it correct? So to confirm that, sorry, who wanted to speak? To confirm that the 6th of April, 2000, the minutes are correct. Is everybody happy with that?
Yeah. Yeah. Yes.
Thank you. And the 24th of April, everybody happy with that?
Yes. Yeah.
And the 18th of June, is everybody happy with that?
Yeah.
Nobody against any of those? So that's unanimously agreed that those minutes are accepted.
thank you.
Now, while I was on then, flashed up on my screen, I don't know if anybody else is, Monique would like to speak. Now, can we do this, Elizabeth, or not? I don't know where she is.
Well,
on my
she
screen.
doesn't have the link to speak. The actual thing was she needed to write in beforehand or let me know she wanted to, and I'd send her the link. What I can do, if the council is happy, is try and do that during a portion of the meeting, and then you refer the public participation to the end, or you defer it to the end. If you're happy to do that, you just need to all agree that you're happy to do that. But I do need her details, so there is that issue that I will need to have them if she'd like to send them in, or somebody send them to me. So it does make a little bit of work, but it's not a big deal. We can handle it if just you're happy to defer it.
Mark, can I ask, are we all happy that Monique should talk to is anybody against that?
No. No.
We're all in support. Monique, if you would like to send your details to the clerk at Altons and Honey Street.org.uk, she will then make it possible for you to speak later during the meeting. And please note that it did appear once as Alton and Honey Street, but it's Altons and Honey Street. So that if there's been any problem and you're looking at a browser that has not been refreshed, you might be seeing the wrong version of the email.
Please do let you know right away if it's, and I'll keep checking my email, but so before we get to the end of the meeting, we'll double check again.
Right. I'm now going on to the clerk's report.
I don't have amazing amounts for you this time, folks. One is just to let you all know that I am starting my Silka, and I did my first workshop last week, and I've ring-fenced Wednesday afternoons to be doing that sort of work. That's only information, but what it may do is I may be coming to you as individuals for more help or information as we go through this, or as I go through the actual workshop itself, which starts officially in September. I've come out, just so you are aware, and had a look at the playground in the last, well, I was right before the 4th of July or on the 4th of July. And I am completing a risk assessment, and we'll be forwarding some information for you all to read and come back to me on with your views regarding the playground going forward, and signage in terms of the COVID-19 restrictions. The only other thing I wanted, well, I've got two other things. One was the PCAP Zoom meeting, which Robert wrote around today to say that he would, or yesterday saying he would happily join that on the 23rd of July. And I just wanted to make sure that nobody else wanted to join it before I respond. It's the 23rd of July at 7 p.m. And can I just ask, please, that if you wish to join, you let me know by the morning, and then I'll go ahead and respond accordingly so that we have the right logins, etc. As we know how interesting online meetings really are. And the only other thing I have is to notify you that kindly Robin Aspinall let me know that there is going to be a scheduled playground inspections in September. And so just so you're aware that that's coming up. And if there's anything that flags itself before then, of course, I will circulate that to the council. But that's really all I've got at the minute.
Right. Can I interrupt and say Monique keeps texting me. I think she can hear me. Monique, it's Clark at Altons and Honey Street.org.uk. Right. Can we move on now?
Can I just interrupt? I'm really sorry, but you haven't got me on video, and I've no idea why. I am here.
Polly, we can hear you.
Yeah, I'm here. Yeah.
Technology is not our great forte in this village, I'm afraid, but there we go.
Not my video.
Can I move on? Oh, there you are.
You're back.
Yeah.
Can I move on? It's obviously a loose socket. Can I move on to financial matters? And I believe this is all you, Rob, please.
Yeah, it seems to be, however chaotic it might be. The first one is just an update since the June meeting of what's come and gone. Well, really all that's come and gone is, I think, was it 83p of dividend that was paid in? And bank statements which have the latest date I've got is 19th of June. And at that point, we had a grand total net of the ring fenced of about £18,180. And I think that in terms of highlights, apart from the fact that we had a couple of checks which went off unsigned in this Zoom system, undated, and were therefore returned and have now been rewritten and resent. And as far as I know, they've all been cashed. I'm sure I would have heard if they hadn't been, but I haven't got actual statements to prove that they have gone through the accounts. And you've got the bank reconciliation. If you want me to go through the sums in that, which add up to 0, I will do. But there's so little in it that I think it's unnecessary. So I think, unless there are any questions about what's happened to the 83p since,
I think we can pass on. Am I allowed to say that, Rob?
yeah. I don't
Anybody
think
not in agreement with
there are
that?
any issues apart from the fact that we seem to have a progression of calamities since I've taken over, which I think has nothing to do with me.
Right. We're going to move on swiftly. I don't think they're very serious calamities. To consider and approve expenses for 2 sets of waders that cost £15 for the use at the springs. Now, Polly, do you want to talk about that, or?
Yeah,
Okay.
again, I'm afraid, obviously, my picture has gone again. I don't know why. But yeah, basically, I've been very concerned about the springs because since all the trees were taken down, oh, hang on, stop my video. Woo! No.
Then,
Since all the trees were taken down around the springs, which I understand because they were dead, there's been a massive growth of plants, and it's stopping the streams from flowing. And the only way to stop this is to physically get in there. And so I have bought 2 pairs of waders, which Billy and Emma Doby, who are my cleaners' kids, have been using, and they are now clearing the stream. And it cost 50 quid. They were 25 quid each. So yeah, can we approve me being paid for that?
Can I, Rob?
just to say that there is a ring-fenced spring fund of 860 something pounds,
Brilliant.
which is exactly for this purpose.
Polly did ring me about this, and I personally said I would have thought there'd be no objection. Can we have, are we all in favour of that? Is
Yeah.
there anybody against?
I was just going to say, like, I have no problem with it, but is it up to us to authorize it? Like, is there a special committee for the spring, or is it us?
Well, there used to be a group of people who run it, but including Brenda and who was the lady who used to live in the village opposite Brenda? And I mentioned this to Brenda the other day, and she was going to let me know who was on the committee. Personally speaking, I think Polly is doing. Polly, were you part of the group who did this?
No. No, I wasn't. I did this completely independently. I just literally had a look at the stream and thought, bloody hell, this needs sorting. And so went out and bought some waders and got some people to start doing it.
And the real
So
problem.
no, I'm not part of the Springs Fund.
No, the real problem was the water was coming over their
nobody's
Wellington
doing it.
boots, wasn't
Sorry?
it? The water was coming over their Wellington boots.
Oh God, yeah. Yeah, they needed waders, so I bought them.
Okay, Rob.
It's just, I mean, Polly did contact me, and I said I thought David Carson was the project manager for that, which I think he is, and that he's been consulted and is quite happy about it. And the check's already written and signed.
Brilliant.
Are we all happy about that?
Yeah.
Yes, well done, Polly.
Yes, I
Thank
think
you.
it was a bit of initiative that, well done, Polly, exactly. When we finish the meeting, we might discuss the Springs Fund for a few moments at the very end of the meeting, okay? Which will
Okay.
be after the meeting closed.
I should just formally say there is another cheque that's in the process of being signed for the £230 refund, which was overpayment previously, which really is an obligation rather than anything that needs approving.
Not quite sure what that's about.
5 Rectory Close.
Oh, I know what you're talking about.
£230, and they paid it twice.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, everybody, I'm going to move on. Is that all right?
Yeah.
Right. Annual Governance and Accountability Return, AGAR, for year ending 31st of March 2020. Rob, the first 1, 2, 3 are you.
Oh, right. Yes, whatever they are.
Can I just say, I have printed out today 70 pages of documentation. Most of it, I think, to do with this. Can I just ask that, do we really need to have a look at all this? 70 pages? We're a little tiny hamlet.
Yeah.
Do we really need? I've got a block here of 70 pages of documents. I've
Polly,
never known anything like it in the 30 years that I've been a parish councillor. I'd just like to bring up, do we really need all this?
I did a bit of research.
I've got a little speech that I was going to make at the end of what I have to do here, whatever it is, about that, and starting with my credentials, which I hate to bore you with it, but I have been involved in various levels from high-end board level down to action group level in lots of committees. And the most important of that was as a trustee. And as a trustee, we did not have, and trustees have a much greater responsibility, ethical responsibility than we do here. And you could write down on one page what our responsibility was, and it goes back to 19th century law, and it says, you must behave as a gentleman. And the case law after that goes into screeds and screeds and screeds of defining how you should behave. And I'm sorry about the fact that it's so gentleman and that Carol has just walked out on that basis. But honestly, for our scale of parish, to behave sensibly and honourably is something we can do regularly without challenge, and we do not need 15 pages of what an RFO ought to be doing. And yeah, anyway, and the other thing I worry about is the deterrent effect. Do not want all this, and they don't want to be councillors if all this is being overlaid on them.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I suspect one of the reasons that possibly Hayley isn't with us is because of this abundance of paperwork. You know, we are just here, little people trying to do our best and trying to, you know, make the little world, our little world, a better place. And to be faced with 70 pages, which I've downloaded today, of paperwork, I'm sorry, I think that really is a problem, and I think that will put people off joining the parish council.
I totally agree.
Where do we go from here? I mean, in defense of all of this, and I'm not particularly keen on it either, it's just to make sure that we have a fallback should we get anything wrong. And it's only these 1 or 2 large amounts of paper we should have. We shouldn't have it. If we agree all this, we should be able to move on fairly rapidly. Elizabeth, would you like to tell, you're more au fait with this than I am. Rob, can I ask Elizabeth to go first, and then Alex? Rob, Alex, but Elizabeth first, please, and then Carol.
The only thing that I would actually say, well, it's a few pronged. One, I try and give you the information online, not with the intention of having it downloaded and printed. It is for your information. The other thing I would like to also highlight is that, with all due respect to Alton, you are quite behind in the terms of being a local parish council, in the fact that you have not adhered to policy and procedure in doing local council work in the terms to which it is actually set out by law. The third thing I would also highlight for you all is the reason that I give you the information that I do is because at the end of the day, liability for each of you is in line here. And rather it entices you to be a volunteer or not, the point of it really is that you need to be aware. And the only way of doing that is to inform you. And so when you take these roles as volunteers, or whatever the role may be, you need to have the information. And so they are there for you so that when you're making decisions, they're informed, they're balanced, and you understand what it is you're actually doing within the role to which you're voting. And there have been times in my role here that I have known councillors to make decisions without review, and that has not been an acceptable position after the fact. So the majority of the information that's fed to you is solely based on making sure that you all stay completely protected in the roles that you have taken as a volunteer. And I hear what you're saying about being a small hamlet or a small village. I live in one as well. But law does not determine a size. So if in fact you were complained about or sued, you are applicable and liable in any other way that any other village or local council in this country would be. And so that needs to actually resonate in the way that actually this council behaves and takes things forward. So that is one of the main reasons why I give you as much information as I do, is so that you're making properly informed decisions. But it does not mean that you're responsible for downloading every single thing. I mean, I would expect that you use me for as much as you can. If you've got questions, come back. But at the end of the day, the things I've highlighted, they don't go away when the meeting ends. They are part of your role.
Thank you, Elizabeth. I couldn't remember which order I said, but I think I said Alex next. So yeah, Alex.
Thanks. It's a difficult one, because my instinct is to go against things that are overcomplicated and too much red tape. I did look on the, I Googled parish council standing orders and went through a couple of websites, and it is quite interesting that it does say that you're not legally obliged to have standing orders as a parish council, but it is best practice. And I think in terms of good governance, it obviously makes it very difficult if you don't, but I think we should perhaps have the basic set rather than the more elaborate set, because the more elaborate they are, the more red tape there is, and the more kind of, ifs, buts, and maybes, and so on and so forth that you have to follow. So although strictly speaking, legally, you're not required to have them, it does potentially, as Elizabeth said, put you in a difficult position from, showing open democratic accountability if you don't have a sort of standard working model. So I would suggest that we do adopt them, but we adopt as little as possible, that you get the skeleton basic version, the stuff that was in bold, not every other piece of legislation that did every possibility. And it's open, you're supposed to review them every year, it says. So if we find that we need a bit more of it, or we can need it for guidance, we can go to it and adopt it, as required later. But my instinct is that otherwise we're going to tie ourselves in knots with the legality of it all.
Thank you, Alex. Rob, you wanted to speak, and then Carol.
Yeah, it's just we have been illegal in several respects for many years, and nothing has happened. There is no ton of bricks waiting to descend on us if we break some technicality if we are doing our best to do the right thing and doing nothing wrong.
Exactly.
And we should, financially, we should be protected from the worst that could happen, like a child falling off a swing and breaking his neck, something like that. But we are protected. We have insurance for that. So unless there's something else that I haven't thought of, then, really, it's much better and friendlier for everybody concerned and opens the space to do things for the community rather than being crowded out by all this bureaucracy, if we are more relaxed about it.
Thank you, Rob. Carol.
Yeah, all I want to say is, like, I agreed with Polly and to have 70 pages and things. And one of the things I'm not aware of is, are we allowed to claim for all of that? If that is the case, would it not be better if one person did it all and then put in one claim? But if everybody wanted to claim papers back, it's going to get really messy.
Thank you. Personally speaking, I've never put in a claim for anything except for printing the newsletter. But
yeah, well, the volunteer ethic is that you don't claim for small expenses. You might claim for big expenses, but
Right. Well, now we've discussed it, I need to know, to receive a report for the financial year ending the 31st of March 2019 from Rob. Presumably we want to do that, do we not?
Yeah.
I think we have to, otherwise we're not legal.
So we accept that, is that correct? We don't have to vote on it, we just accept it, is that correct?
Are you prepared to, is there a necessity actually to read it out, because this is supposed to be a public meeting?
Tonight, you're on 9C, correct?
Yes, if you say so.
No. Robert.
Yeah. Who said Robert? Sorry.
Sorry, what agenda item are you referring to? Sorry.
Sorry, A of the annual governance. And
yes. So, Rob, could you please read that out? Yes, it is a public meeting and it should be read.
Right. I thought so. So, stand back. This is my first and final report on the financial year's proceedings, because I'm about to be taken over. It has been an eventful year in terms of administration, as you all know, but I hope everything is now in a state ready for a smoother transition to the new clerk and responsible financial officer. We began the year with funds of £16,091.67 and ended the year with balances totaling £15,781.04, a fall of £310.63. The clerk and chair continued to waive their right to an honorarium, but the council decided there was a need for a professional clerk who took up her post on April the 27th. Receipts, the precept remained at £5,000, interest earned totaled £9.49. The annual fee of £230 was paid for the license to access 5 Rectory Close. VAT refunds, mostly to do with the playground refurbishment, £896.22. Expenditure, £6,446.34. Administration costs include the annual subscription to the Wiltshire Association of Local Councils, WOLC, of £99.77, which went up.
Hang on. Sorry, I'm sorry to interrupt. We've all got this.
Yeah.
Why does this need to be read out?
I think this is supposed to be a public meeting and the public are supposed to hear it read out.
That's
but
correct.
if you don't want it read out, it's going to take another 15 minutes to read the rest of it. And you've got it all. So.
Yeah, I'm just wondering, Elizabeth, why do we have to have this read out?
Because you're actually working on in the eyes of the public, and so this is a public meeting. It is a council meeting of. It is
members of the public. There are no members of the public with us. So.
There are no members of the public that are participating within the meeting verbally, but you do have 6 members of the public that are actually watching the meeting, and so you do have public that are. It would be no different if you were sitting in the village hall. they would potentially not have looked on the website for all the information. And that is the role of a counselor, is to ensure that during a public meeting of council business that you are giving it in its entirety and to the best of explanation. And so this is the report, and it requires being read out here. That's
Bob, will you continue? I'm sorry, Polly. I think if we were
It's
in a
fine,
sitting,
it's fine. Why to clarify that?
I'm not allowed to do the edited highlights, of
Just
which
want
there are
to clarify that.
Yeah, all right, I'll continue. I don't know where I got to. Yeah, we got a rise of 12p, and photocopying costs came to £44, a rise to £22 because 2 years were claimed in 1 year. Playground. The playground is by far our largest continuing expense. The cost of insurance fell by £31.49 to £600.62, a pro rata reduction relating to the lower capital value of the playground equipment. Legal inspection cost £94.80, which was a rise of £12.40. Grass cutting again cost £565, with a regular annual expense. The playground had fallen into some disrepair, and refurbishment costs came to £4,406.35p, which included £734.39 VAT. The Parish Council has decided that in future £2,500 a year should be ring-fenced for all the playground costs. Other expenditure. A brass plaque for the commemoration oaks costs £35.80. The contribution to Manningford Parish Council for the use of the speed indicator device was £500, a rise of £280 over the annual cost to cover repairs. The usual donation of £100 was made to Pewsey Community Area Partnership. White Horse. There was no spraying cost this year thanks to the rechalking exercise. There is a continuing question about whether it's the Alton PC's responsibility, but it usually has cost in the past, about £225. Taking into account, and this amounts to a budget as well, which I'm obliged to present, taking into account ring-fenced funds, £861.63 for the spring fund and £2,500 for the playground, Alton Parish Council began 2021 with net funds of £12,419.49p. Excluding playground costs included in the £2,500 per annum, routine expenditures should amount to less than £500. We are talking about expenditure which is of our own choosing of about £500 a year, or about £700 if the White House spraying costs are included. So the total expenditure, playground plus routine, should be £3,000 or slightly more if White House spraying costs are charged. However, recruitment of a professional clerk has doubled that by £3,000 per annum. That means that annual expenditure for this and future years is likely to rise to £6,000 or so, with the possibility that Wiltshire County Council will want to pass on some of their responsibilities. The reserves are more than adequate to accommodate this, but there are obvious implications for the precept in future. And a slight addendum on current projections, reserves for this year after known expenses should be £14,000 to £15,000.
Is that it, Rob?
I've reached the end. I don't think there's another page.
Thank you.
Hi, Elizabeth. How do I see the other people who are listening to this?
You don't see them because it's being streamed, and so it's streaming to people. They can't participate, but they can watch the parish council meeting, much like it's supposed to be in a personal meeting where people can observe a parish council meeting going on, but they are not free to speak unless otherwise asked to. And
there are people listening into this, are there?
Yes, there are. We have 6 people watching this. Yes.
Right. Okay.
May I move on, Rob?
Yep.
Receive for information the final internal audit report for 2019-20, which is you again, I'm afraid.
Well, it is, or it's me and Elizabeth, because the final report amounts to an email I received saying everything looks absolutely perfect. Thank you very much.
Okay. Can I move on? Is that correct?
Yep.
Can I move on from there?
Elizabeth has received it, but it's not posted on the website.
Okay. Can we move on to the third section C, to receive the AGA annual internal audit report from the auditor?
That is, I think,
That's
one.
after, isn't it?
Yep. I think that's one of the pages of the AGA, is it, that which is on the website, which has got various boxes ticked.
On the documents, yes.
Should be section B.
Yeah. Page 4 of 6
Mhm.
of the AGA, which is the one signed by Arthur on the 22nd of April, which is so long ago that I've forgotten all about it. But
I have seen it. Have all the councillors seen it? They should have done. It's
Yeah.
been in the paper.
it
Have you all
is,
seen it?
it's identical to everything that was filled out in previous years, which was basically my brief for this year.
Yeah, it's 9C.
Yeah, it's all agreed.
Yeah.
Can I move on? Elizabeth, can I move on now?
Yes. I'm happy. Yes.
Right, Elizabeth, I think this is you, to receive for information the governance report 2019-20 from the clerk.
Yes. So essentially, there is a part of the AGAR that is 9. Sorry, bear with me. Talks about it is the governance, which brings us potentially a little bit back to where we were a little bit before. But one of the reasons that governance is important to some extent is that actually we are regulated on it under our audit every year. I believe that all points except for one, which talks about standing orders and financial regulations, and also the last point, which is 9, which says trust funds, which is not an applicable element to the AGAR for this council. Could be ticked yes, but again, when you come back to the idea of the authority needs to have in place standing orders and financial regulations governing how it operates, its regulations need to incorporate provisions for securing competition and regulating the manner in which tenders are invited. These need to be regularly reviewed, fit for purpose, and adhered to. And that is something that you do not have in place. And as your clerk and your responsible officer for this, you're not compliant. And so as far as the AGAR is concerned, I think, well, you need to tick no.
Right, thank you, Elizabeth. Now, E is to consider and approve the AGA Section 1 Government Statement 2019-20. Now, that is really to vote on these procedures, is it not, Elizabeth?
Yeah, the section 1 is the ones I just spoke about, to say that you will be ticking yes, all but that of your governance, and that would be a no. And then you would have a not applicable for area 9, which doesn't apply to you. So you would need to have a first, a seconder, and an all in favor for that.
Right. Does anybody understand that fully?
No.
Well, you're essentially making disclosure to the external auditor that you have specific things in place. And some, if you'd like me to go through them, I can. Number 1, we have put in place arrangements for effective financial management during the year and for the preparation of the accounting statements. Well, I see that as a yes, because you have done that as far as I'm concerned, and you've shown that in evidence. We've maintained an adequate system of internal control, including measures designed to prevent and detect fraud and corruption, and reviewed its effectiveness. As far as I see from the evidence that's been provided, that's a yes. We took all responsible steps to assure ourselves that there are no matters of actual or potential non-compliance with laws, regulations, or proper practices that could have a significant financial effect on the ability of the authority to conduct its business or manage its finances. Now, that you could say is a yes, because you've gone through proper internal audit, but you don't have your governance in place, but you've still gone through internal audit and you've passed. So that could be a yes. We provided proper opportunity during the year for the exercise of election rights in accordance with the requirements of the accounts and audit regulations. That is correct. You have done that. We carried out an assessment of the risks facing authority and took appropriate steps to manage those risks, including introduction of internal controls and/or external insurance cover where required. Your insurance has been reviewed. You voted on that annually. You have minutes to back that up. That is a yes. So for the auditor, that is correct. We maintain throughout the year an adequate and effective system on internal audit and recording accounting records and control systems. Well, you've done your regulation, you've done your internal audit, you're now submitting to external audit, you've had an RFO in place. That's a yes. We took appropriate action on all matters raised in reports from internal and external audit. You are following the AGAR rules. You've done your internal audit. You have actually said yes to that. And then we considered whether any litigation, liabilities, or commitments, events, or transactions occurring either during or after year end and financial impact on this authority, and where appropriate, have included them in the accounting statements. Well, you're producing statements. So Rob has been doing that for you. He's been balancing your accounts. He's been coming to these meetings. He's been making annual reports to you each time you come to a meeting. That is part of your responsibility as parish, as a parish authority. And so you've done that. So you can tick yes.
So is that all E you've just said?
Yes, that's the whole form. So that what you are required as a council to do is vote that you accept this as a full council. You must accept it as a full council before it goes to the external auditor. So if you vote yes collectively or in quorum, then it can go.
Yep.
If not, we have got a problem.
Okay.
Excuse me. Well, this doesn't actually go to the external auditor, does it? Because we got the certificate of.
Well, you have the exemption, but should you ever be called upon that, you have to prove behind you that you've got all the documentation. So in essence, if you send them a certificate, Rob, you're saying the same thing.
Yeah.
You cannot in 5 months' time, if they call on you, come back and say, well, we didn't do that. So yes and no.
And all this gets published on the website.
Indeed it does. And you have to prove that in the following year. So you must actually show evidence of all of this.
Yeah.
Can I move us on if possible? Because I feel this is belts, braces, and extra safety pins as well. But I would suggest that we accept that. And so can I have a firster? Thank you, Michael is going to, and a seconder. Can I have you, Alex? And can we have a vote that we all accept it or don't? Do we all accept it? That's unanimous, Elizabeth.
Okay, thank you.
Thank God that one's over.
Thank you very much.
I'm being watched by hundreds of people. So now the next one, I'm afraid, is to consider and approve the Argus Section 2. And I'm afraid I'm going to hand you that as well, Elizabeth.
No, it's mine, I think. Between the two of us, but it's all the numbers on one of the pages of the AGA, which repeats the numbers from the final statement. And if Elizabeth thinks they add up as they should do, then it's ready to be signed by me and has already been signed by the chairman as well, and just needs a reference.
Can I have a first? Can we accept that? And can I have somebody to? Alex is going to first it and a seconder. Michael, can we have everybody anybody? Can we all approve? Anybody against? Fine. God, this is the toughest meeting I've ever had in my life. Right.
Thank goodness it's once a year.
To approve the sending of exemption certificates to the external auditor. Now, is that Rob or is that Elizabeth?
Well, it's been a question of negotiation, I think. But yesterday evening, I came to you and you signed it.
Right, but
I signed it and dated it, and it is ready to go to what is, I think, I am for the moment, the nominated contact for the external auditor. So that form is now ready to be sent to them.
So you suggest
with the approval of Elizabeth and the rest of the committee.
Right. Can I have a proposer and a seconder, please? Carol will propose, seconded by Alex. Can we have a vote that we accept that? Anybody? No, that's unanimous as well. Thank you, Rob. And the last one of this, to note the dates for the public to exercise their rights will be from Monday, the 20th of July to Monday, the 31st of August. I'm not quite sure. Will you explain that, Elizabeth?
By law, you are required to post open books, if you will, or your open of your finances to the public for that period of time, 30 days, 30
We've
working days.
always done that, haven't we, in the past?
But it is to be recognized in a public meeting, and that it is only just for the council to accept that as these are the dates. Be aware that those are when they'll be up. They'll be on the website, and they should be where applicable in your notice board, at least somewhere highlighted of how to get to them, so the public is aware should they have a question.
Thank you. Can I have? Are we all happy to accept that? Can I have a proposer, please?
You don't need to propose.
Who is actually responsible? Well, it's basically all of the stuff we've just gone through needs to be posted.
So that doesn't need to be proposed. So we can move on, can we? To governance.
Yeah.
Am I correct? We're on to governance.
Yes.
Right. To consider and approve the adoption of the National Association of Local Councils modelling standing orders. Now, have you all had a look at the standing orders?
Yeah.
They are actually, sorry, I'm looking at the code of conduct, not the standing orders. There's 19 pages of them, part of your 70, Polly.
Yes.
I personally have read them all. I've got one or two questions, but Alex Oliver at the very beginning, and Alex, I'm taking this away from you because I thought it was a good idea, suggested that everything that is in bold type is in law what we should have. Is that correct, Elizabeth?
Yes, it is.
So rather than go through this whole 19-page document at the moment, I've read it all, and I would, besides one or two queries, I would accept everything in bold myself. What does the rest of the parish council think?
Yeah, I agree.
Polly,
I'm happy to accept it, and I think the whole
in
point
its
of having
entirety, Michael, in its entirety, or just in the bold bits, the bold type?
No, I'm in bold, and I'm happy to fill in the gaps as we go along by referring to our clerk as we go along through the meetings.
Mm.
Yeah, I would say the same. Yeah.
Carol,
Bold bit, yeah.
Alex?
Yeah. So
So do I propose that we accept everything that is in bold and that those will be our standing orders? You're looking very worried, Elizabeth.
Well, because I am, because you're actually under, I said in my email that actually the ones that are in bold, you cannot change.
Yeah.
The ones that are not in bold, you can change. And so essentially, you need a set of standing orders that includes as much of this as possible, or removing specific elements of it, or at least altering the parts that are not in bold to fit this council. So if you're not wanting to take this as the national guidance until such time you find they don't work for you, or there becomes a query, or you wish to actually take this away and we alter them separately in a slower manner, then you need, in my recommendation, you need to be adopting the national standard. They have been through all of the tests, legally speaking, for all sizes of councils. Just because it's in here doesn't mean it would apply to you, by the way, might I add.
Okay, fine. Yeah.
But they have been tested and tried in a legal aspect, whereby if you make alterations, I have additional work I have to do to make sure that they will stand up to protect this council. So my view is, I don't mean to be awkward, it's kind of an all or nothing. I would say at the moment, because you're starting new, I would adopt the national standard. And if you don't like what it says, then I'm happy to work with you to actually figure out what it is that is unique and what Alton requires. And I'm happy to do that work with you. But at the moment, you have nothing, which I say really leaves you wide open. And so that would be my recommendation.
Can I
Yeah,
propose?
I
sorry.
absolutely agree with that, Elizabeth. I didn't actually understand the question. I've looked at all the stuff in that, and I think it all is fine. I haven't got a problem with any of it. I didn't realize that we had to kind of separate stuff out. As far as I'm concerned, to be honest, I've read it all, and a lot of it does not apply to us, but yeah, it's fine. It's fine.
I mean, if it doesn't apply, it's not going to apply. And no matter how you try and round that circle, it's just
No.
not going to fit.
No.
So, you know.
May I ask a question of Elizabeth? If we adopt this standing orders as printed at the moment, can we have a revising session within the next few council meetings to discuss any particular?
Yes, we sure can. Sure, we can. Yes, we can revisit this. Like I said, absolutely.
I mean, we don't have to wait a year. We can revisit it at
Oh
the
no,
next council meeting.
no. You don't have to wait a year. No, we can revisit it.
If that is the case, I personally think that we could adopt it now,
Yeah.
and with the safeguard that we revise it later in the year.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
agree?
Yeah, I think that's a great idea because, you know, I read the board and I skimmed through the rest. So yes, I would like to sit down and look at it carefully. So a review would be much better to do it that way.
But
Yeah.
we accept it as it is in its
Yes.
entirety now.
Yes, I'm happy with that.
Can I have a proposer that we accept it in its entirety?
Yeah, I'll propose.
Proposed by Polly, and can I have a seconder?
Yeah, I'll second.
Carol? And the proposal is that we accept it in its entirety on the condition that we can have a revising one in either the next council meeting or the one after if there's any problems.
Yeah,
Can we have a vote on that? Who's in favour? That's unanimous. Thank you very much, everybody. Do we need to do B as well? Is part of this to do with the financial model?
Yes. These are the very same thing. These are the nationally agreed financial regulations.
Yes.
Not all things may fit Alton, but they give you a basis to work from. And if there are things that truly are not within what Alton is about, or you know, then we need to review that, and actually we can make changes as we go along.
Rob, do you want to say anything about that?
Yeah, well, I've gone through all 15 pages of it, and I was responsible for the finance of a £3 billion fund, and I only had about 2 pages to go through on the basis that I should behave properly. And there are some details in there, like initialing of bank statements and things like that. But apart from that, there's nothing that really interferes with the way that 9 pages a year should be managed. The only thing is, of course, I am the RFO of the moment, but I'm not going to be for very long. And we need to talk about how we become legal in handing over to what is legally required of a contracted RFO.
But that is a totally different subject, is it not?
Well, it's got to happen sometime soon.
Yes.
And now the AGAR's out of the way, it should be on the agenda.
Okay, well, perhaps it needs to be on the agenda for the next meeting.
Yeah.
Elizabeth is nodding, so is that acceptable?
Yeah,
So,
fine.
Rob, just to recap, you agree that we don't do anything different and that we should accept this?
I agree that all of that is completely sensible and exactly what everybody should be doing if they are the least bit gentlemanly.
Thank you. Can I have a proposer, please? That we
I
accept
propose.
that? Thank you. And that's Michael and Alex. Is that all right?
Yeah.
And can we have a vote? I'm in favour. Are you in favour? Everybody's in favour. Thank you very much, Rob.
Thanks, Rob.
To consider the standard code of conduct, and I've read this very carefully. Have you all read this one? I think it's pretty
Yes.
good common sense myself.
Yeah.
I had one question. No, I didn't. May it be in the appendix. Oh yes, I didn't get round to the appendix. It was so small. in typewriting. I actually thought that was a very good idea, and I'm very happy to propose that we accept that. But does anybody want to say anything about it first?
No,
Well, I'll propose we accept it. Will somebody second me, please?
I'll second.
Polly, sorry, Alex, I missed you then. Can we have a vote that we all accept that? That's unanimous as well. Right.
Stop it.
Were you talking to me, Carol?
No, I'm sorry, the dogs are fighting behind me and I'm
Right. I think this is you, Elizabeth, to receive for information, correspondence and circulars received.
It's just to say that we spoke earlier, and I had sent you, which I didn't circulate to everybody, might I add. But if you're interested, please do have a look at the website. I did send an email received on the 14th of July about caring for carers and the Bruce boats in Great Bedouin. And essentially, it is a charity that is looking to give back to carers by offering them some time
Boat
out.
ride.
Yes, a boat ride, a canal ride. And
I've put
so
it's all on the front page of our website.
have a look. And if you know anyone who is in need of that, so that's one circular. These two I will be circulating after the meeting tonight. One is about, it's the briefing note 2024 from Wiltshire Council. And essentially it's talking about the electoral registration officer and how they are going to be behaving. Everybody should have received an email. And when I say everybody, all of Wiltshire, on the 7th of July, asking for any information on changes for the electoral services. And if you haven't got that, there are other avenues to which the electoral roll is going to be conducted this year. So there may be people coming around and knocking on doors. It's just so that people are aware. But as I said, I will circulate this and I will send it to Robert as well to put on the website so that the public is also duly informed.
Elizabeth, can I ask a question? Did you say we should have all received an email from Wiltshire Council on
No,
July?
I've got it and I will circulate it.
Thank you.
Mhm. And then the next one is also from Wiltshire Council, and I did these out of order, so my apologies, was the briefing note 2022. And a couple of weeks ago, there were some media reports about Wiltshire Council possibly going bankrupt. And basically it's a legal briefing just to let local councils know that that's not necessarily, the way that it's been written up is not necessarily true, but that actually the council does face some really hard challenges going forward, and it outlines those after COVID-19. So I will be circulating that as well, and that will go on the website for the public to digest as well as a legal note so that they're aware of what is being said and the links should they wish to get the information.
Right. I've had 8 messages from Monique on my mobile phone and I haven't managed to look at any of them. Has she managed to contact you?
I did send her the link. Give me just a second. That would imply she's not received it. So if you bear with me a second.
Right. I will just go on to consider items of maintenance if I can while you're doing that, Elizabeth.
Thank you very much.
Is there any work besides the springs that we need to discuss for maintenance? There's no kind of village steward stuff we need to think about, is there?
The road outside our place is getting quite bad, Robert.
Do we want to make a comment to Wiltshire Council about that?
Well, we did previously when
We've done regularly, haven't we?
yeah, when Paul was with us the last time, he made a note of it. That was before lockdown, though, in fairness.
Okay. Well, shall we ask Elizabeth to make a note about it or what?
Elizabeth seems to have dropped off temporarily.
I think she's trying to email Monique.
Okay, we can ask her afterwards, I guess.
Okay. Key messages. I'm not quite sure what key messages are besides thank you all for coming and keeping well.
Oh,
Elizabeth.
Well,
Sorry.
Elizabeth,
I am here and I am listening. So just carry on and I will pick up whatever. Don't worry. I'm getting everything you've got. So just
Okay.
carry
Are
on.
there any key messages we should know? Elizabeth?
Well, the key messages are for you guys to tell me so we know where we're going to put them. Where you want the public to know the most important messages out of this meeting. What are they? And I'll carry them forward for you.
I've had several people ask about the field where the electricity company is, and that it's becoming more and more untidy. If this is a key message, I would very much like something followed up about that. Also, the lady who lives there, Marie, has suffered. Apparently, they've had a few quite late night parties in one or two of the caravans. I don't think constantly or anything like that, but it has been a bit of a nuisance to her. So I would like, Elizabeth, if you could take that up with the Southeast Electric Board, which is it? SSE, what is it? Scottish
and Southern, I think.
What is it?
Scottish and Southern, I think.
Scottish and Southern, well, from Electricity Board, that would be great. Can I move on to the next meeting? Is anything anybody else has got to say? The next meeting, hopefully on the 17th of September, and this time in the Coronation Hall.
Yay!
Unless things go terribly wrong, the Coronation Hall has been given something like 8 appendixes and a 20-page document. Polly, you really will enjoy this because I hope you've read it.
I've got it on my table as we speak, and it's certainly more than 20 effing pages. Yeah.
To me, to open the village hall would be a matter of just putting the key in the door and unlocking
I
it.
know,
It shouldn't have
but
been
we have
used.
got a lot.
Liz popped around to see me the other day because she thought this meeting was actually being held in the hall.
I
And
realised
that's
that.
why I asked you, yes, because she said, you know, her and Jackie are just waiting to go in to absolutely bottom out the place.
But apparently they have to wear PPE while they clean it and all sorts of things. So, sorry, I'm going off on a tangent, but that's everything. Now, have you managed to get hold of Monique or not?
So I have resent to her email from what she sent to the parish council, the link a second time. And I have not, and it gives the link to which she needs to log in to access this meeting. And so if she could try, if you're still watching, Monique, if you could please try. What we may need to do.
Our last message I had was 21 minutes ago. So perhaps she's gone. I don't think we can wait any longer. We have tried. I think I can say this meeting is now closed, Elizabeth, unless anybody's got anything desperate. Right. Can we close the meeting officially?
Bear with us just a minute, council members, please. Are we closed? Are we closed? We're closed. We're closed. We're closed. We're closed. Bear with me just a moment.
Sorry to hold you all up, but Elizabeth is just making sure that we're not on the World Wide Web any longer. It is just between the files.
Elizabeth, I do have an option on my screen here, Elizabeth, to stop streaming if you want me to click that.
I think you should do
Yes,
that.
please. Yes, please. Please do.